You're listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. DeLon, for those that haven't come across you online, introduce yourself and tell our listeners what we're talking about today.
My name is Dr. DeLon Canterbury. I am a geriatric pharmacist and founder of GeriatRx. Our focus is to get any over-medicated adults off of harmful meds while improving quality of life and hopefully saving them some money in the process. Today, we're going to talk about the business of deprescribing, how clinicians can actually leverage deprescribing and grow their practice while improving quality outcomes for their patients.
DeLon, if somebody came into this and they heard us talking, they would think we were crazy talking about how to make money by less prescribing. Now, our listeners kind of get the idea, but let's say someone was new to pharmacy and they came in here. They would say, what in the world are you talking about? Deprescribing.
In our country, we love our fee-for-service model. We love to bill those copays and get our payment reimbursements from what the patient's getting out of pocket. Deprescribing is literally a movement. It's more than just stopping a medication. It's showing our health system how we can minimize costs using cost avoidance. So not just, okay, let's stop some harmful meds, but how are we lowering readmission rates in heart failure patients who are taking too many NSAIDs, right? For example, how are we quantifying the costs saved for the patient who's paying out of pocket for a med that they may not really need anymore? As you may know, there's a lot of clinical inertia. There are tons of ways where meds are just kept on for years and years. And pharmacists have the perfect opportunity to leverage their skills already as natural deprescribers to really show how they can market this to patients directly for a flat fee or retainer fee, and still improve those quality measures that the patients want to begin with.
When I hear about deprescribing, I think about some old person just getting gobs of medicine. And for some reason, I picture the elder daughter as the one coming to you and saying, we don't think she needs all this stuff. We know it's not the son doing it because the sons don't care. They're just, but it seems like the older daughter who would sort of like search you out. Who's looking for you?
You are spot on. Majority of patients who reach out to me are female, and yes, they are the female caregivers, and they usually are the daughters of the loved one who they're worried about. So most of my patients are generally female caregivers. Yes, so you're spot on. It's exactly how I got my very first patient, whose mom, unfortunately, was on 36 medications.
Whoa.
In a nursing home. In a nursing home. So they thought she was over-medicated. They literally thought she was a walking zombie. She was just comatose, unresponsive, kind of just drooling in her room. And they felt she was wasting away. And so it was a blessing that they reached out to me, and we were able to deprescribe them from 36 medications down to 8 medications and get her back to her normal self.
When they come to you, I'm sure they don't come to you and just spell it out cleanly. It seems like they come to you and they're blaming someone. I'm not saying the blame is correct, but when they come to you, who gets the brunt of that? Are they complaining because there's so many doctors, or the nursing home's not listening to them, or the one doctor's not listening to them, or the nurses are screwing something up? Who seems to get the brunt of that?
I would say the primary care doctor gets the brunt of the blame, and at times it's undue in that their big beef really comes with the entire healthcare system, right?
Throw everybody under the bus.
Right. It's easy to say it's all your doctor's fault. Half of the time they're just catching on, or they're carrying on a case that was passed on to them, and now they're stuck with trying to figure out how to help you. And when they go about that, I try to re-educate and say, look, it's really a systems-wide issue, okay? Over-medicating, over-prescribing is in their DNA. It's literally our healthcare model to treat and diagnose. That's how we get paid, but that's also how we know to treat. But we don't think about whether what we're treating is the harm or is the causative agent. And that's, again, comes to a change in our medication mindset. How we respond to meds, how we think about meds in the first place, in my eyes, should be a last-ditch effort. But patients are quick to say it's all the doctor's fault, but really it's the system, and their hands are generally tied with 15 minutes to see a patient and then an ongoing list of things to do before you're out the door. And so it's very difficult works that we see.
I know your model's more one-on-one. Have you had luck with the bigger models of telling an insurer you're going to save them this much and so on?
I'm still in the process of doing that. I'm thinking about working more with the small business insurers. And that is a goal probably in the next year that I'll be addressing, working more with quality improvement networks, QIOs. These are third-party agents that work under Medicare to, say, reduce like opioids in a nursing home, et cetera. They look for those type of metrics. So there are programs that literally do this. It's not verbalized as deprescribing, but they call it, say, quality improvement, or, there are ways that you can look for it. But that is a goal. Ultimately, I am more focused on getting this into our providers' mind first, because even though these big name companies, the insurers, they want this, they need this, they're not sure how to look for it. So I want our providers to at least have a foundation. And I'm finding that most people don't even know what the hell deprescribing is.
The insurances want to save money. Are you saying they're already hiring consultants to lower costs, and you could somehow maybe get in through the back door with one of those companies that's already doing that, and you'd help them out with the pharmacy side of things more?
Absolutely. There are companies that do this. They make livings off of this, and millions are spent on getting consultants to find ways to reduce costs and improve outcomes. And so we already have stuff like HEDIS measures and metrics. We see HCPCS, et cetera. But you can still find ways to do this from a top-down policy with these insurers. So I know have found that United Healthcare tends to be very progressive in giving that more concierge feel to their patients. And I've been in talks with United Healthcare about doing something like that as well as an added value service. And again, it's doable. If you're showing this level of care, you're reducing X, Y, Z. If you're reducing, say, a set number of pills per group of patients you're working with, that all looks good to the insurers. And when they see the budget sheet say, hey, we've actually saved money and the patients are still good, again, that is the perfect opportunity for pharmacists, especially to capitalize on.
I think there's psychology behind people not wanting to pay money to save money. They want to save money on something they can hold. They don't want it on something that they're not holding, but they would have spent. It's a whole psychology of sunken costs and all those kind of things. I'm not smart enough to explain all that even to myself, to understand that. But it's sometimes a hard sell. And I think the way you have to sell that is with a lot of data. And you've got to compare year over year and look at this is truly what you would have spent, because why would you not have spent that, and then prove that you're the one that's doing that for them.
Oh, yeah. And you're right, Mike. It can be a hard sell, particularly to patients. But when you are able to convey the value that you're bringing, when you're able to say, I have saved, and this is a true story, that very same patient on 36 meds would have been forced into a nursing home had I not interceded and gave a full medication deprescribing plan.
Is it fair to say this is your first taste in your own business stuff? And then will you replace yourself on this? Or do you enjoy the mix of it and so on, of being the business owner and also the practitioner?
Business is definitely not for the weak. I was always interested in business, but I definitely didn't feel like I came in knowing everything about business. I was a pharmacy manager with Walgreens for about 5-6 years. So that does help you understand like those spreadsheets, what you're moving with metrics, how to drive a team. All those soft skills were critical for my growth today. And I'll tell you, I love being an entrepreneur, man. I love this state of freedom I have. I love being my own boss. I love being a clinician. I do admit there are pieces to the business I'm like, I don't want to do that because it's not what I enjoy doing. For instance, I don't enjoy pubbing stuff all over social media. However, that is integral to my business. So will I say Was I ready for this? No, I was not ready. But I do love the thrill of adventure I face each day. I love the impact in knowing that I have my own patients, my own clients, my own referrals who come to me and vouch for me. And I could track my data because they are telling me how much better things are since I've been with them. So that joy, I feel, is what was lacking in the world of retail pharmacy for me. I didn't have that joy. It was just for someone else's metrics, not mine.
You do a real nice job on social media.
Well, thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I like your stuff. It's always, I don't know. It might be because you're so handsome, but it's always nice and clean. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that better than that. It's clean. It's very, I'm trying to think of the right adjective for it. It's like tight. I think some of it actually goes to the quality of things like photographs and things. I think we don't think about that, but I think your photos are always tight. You must have a photographer. Is that right?
I do. I do. He's a friend of mine. He does a lot of my professional stuff, of course. I'm actually doing another shoot with him next Sunday. But yeah, I do. And I'm not saying everyone needs that. A lot of it is consistency, Mike, and practice. And again, I wasn't the 30-day live challenge guy, but what inspired me was getting coaches who encouraged me to start being more vocal, being more consistent, even if it's a minute a day, 2 minutes a day, and just talk about anything related to overprescribing or whatever you're seeing as the problem. And that really was what started it. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll try it. I don't like doing stuff live, but I did. And this was maybe 2 years ago. And it's been the best thing ever since. About 2 weeks of me doing that, I got so comfortable with just putting it on and talking about issues. It's growing my brand. And in fact, that's where most of my clients find me from.
The benefit of that is, well, it's twofold. You just said the people see you more, but then you get more confident and you actually then start coming up with more ideas. Even you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'll talk about this too. And it snowballs from so many different angles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and it's so crazy, Mike, because I did not envision that me doing these lives would lead to me having a segment on the radio show with the Chicago Crusaders, or being on PBS for Black Issues Forum to talk about COVID, or being asked to talk about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine pause. Like, this has led to media attention from just the stuff I did on social media. So it's crazy in that I'm actually now in talks of becoming a pharmacist on retainer for a local news station to do like maybe a weekly excerpt on over-medicating on their channel. So all from going live on Facebook, right? So I didn't see this coming at all, but it's been a blessing.
Well, talking about making jobs easier, for like these doctors, think of how you can make someone's job easier at a local news station. They know that you're going to do well in front of the camera. You're not going to be stuttering your words. They know you have good lighting, not only good lighting, but they know that you appreciate those kind of things. And so it makes their job a hell of a lot easier to just say, oh, call DeLon, he can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to take away your content, but I'm just saying they don't have to deal with all the other crap. They know that you're going to give them a quality product every time. Right.
It's true. And when you get real close with these anchors and producers, they don't forget. And they're like, okay, we got him for next time. And they keep you in the circle. And so you get invited for talks and more engagements. And all of that has subsequently built my brand. And I never thought I would be a paid guest speaker, but now that's a part of my business too. I can leverage that as a way to also grow revenue. So it's awesome.
Those are local news places?
They are. They're local news places. I've done things also in other states. Like I've done COVID panels in Arkansas and other news platforms elsewhere across the country. But it's been everywhere.
That local stuff, when they can get their hands on somebody local that can help them out, they want the local stuff. That is really important to them because there's a ton of people who could do stuff better than I could, but let's say the news calls and wants a story. Well, one, they know they can get to me because they don't have to go through a bunch of red tape with all the corporate stuff. When they get to the edge of that red tape. Now they're talking to someone, instead of talking to a local person in Michigan, they're talking to the headquarters in Chicago. And then by definition, that blows the local news story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we forget that these networks are syndicated. So, like, if there's something really hot here, like you just said, it can go to a mom and mother of the organization in that syndicate, and it can be passed on to another higher producer, and that can also lead to garnishing national attention. I haven't quite gotten there, but I've definitely been in the room with those people to have those conversations, and it's cool to see it happen in real time.
If you're like me and someone has invited you to something and you're lying there at night, then you start dreaming about stuff and you start saying, hey, I did this for this station. And you always go the next step up. You know, you're always thinking the next step up. What would be really cool for you? I mean, getting a call from, I don't even know the people's names anymore, but getting a call from NBC News and you're going to be on their morning show. Where has your mind taken you with that? And don't tell me it hasn't.
No, it has. I've had quite a few of my colleagues and coaches be like, you're going to be the next, that correspondent on CNN, the Indian guy, I forgot his name.
Gupta?
Yes. Yeah, Gupta. Sanjay Gupta. He's like, you're going to be the next Sanjay. Because I was talking about COVID all the time, right? I was doing COVID town halls and panel and radio shows and discussions, all local. For me, and just so you know, Mike, I actually had I had a radio show for about 4 or 5 months last year. It was based out of Chicago. It was with the America's Heroes group, and it's a group of veteran caregivers who provide content for their seniors and caregivers in Chicago. So I did a monthly show on overprescribing, how to leverage pharmacists, etc. For me, I want to be the Clark Howard of pharmacists, okay? I want to be the number one stop for deprescribing across the entire country. So I want literally a podcast or radio show or TV show that literally talks about over-medicating, how to stop it, how to leverage pharmacists, how to use a team-based approach. And whether it's NBC, frankly, it'll be my own show. It doesn't have to be a network, but I see this being on the NPR. I see this being pretty much on like Dr. Oz, even though I don't like his work at all, but you know, I see it being nationally syndicated if need be. So
I've been around pharmacy a long time, and I've hear a lot about MTMs and polypharmacy and all that. And I guess I've heard about deprescribing, but I can't really put a face to it, DeLon, except for yours. Do you think a lot of people are using that terminology, or do you seem to have more of a corner on that? And I probably have listeners that are going to like say, you should have seen my stuff, you know, so maybe I would have, but for some reason, and it might just be because you did a damn good job of keeping in touch with me when you're commenting on the podcast and stuff like that. And what a great job you've done on, you know, social to, well, raise my awareness of you. I mean, I'm a little thing, but I mean, you've raised awareness by touching me somehow. And so maybe that's why you're the face of deprescribing, but is it a common phrase?
It's a good question. I feel as if our lay members, like patients, wouldn't really know that term. You have to kind of re-educate and say, stopping meds safely. Providers are well aware of the concept, but they don't really know how. And to say that I'm the face is flattering, trust. But I know there are tons of pharmacists who are deprescribers, but they're not quite using the verbiage. They're just saying that they may use it in different ways, right? There's so many consultant pharmacists who work in like SNFs and LTCs. They have pharmacists who are holistic, like functional medicine pharmacists. And so in different avenues, they are technically deprescribing.
When you think of LinkedIn, is there anybody that you envy / you think is in front of you using the deprescribing niche, who's using that word actually? Can you think of, and don't give me the name, but can you think of anybody else that you're like, oh, he's doing it too, or she's doing it too, and I want to, well, in my mind, I would say I want to catch them. But I mean, is there anybody that comes to mind that is focusing on that one verb deprescribing more than you?
There are people who discuss it, like me. There is no one who discusses it more than me.
You're the face, to your knowledge.
To my knowledge, I am the face of deprescribing. Now, again, I don't want to give away credit. I'm a youngin', so I feel like there's so many out there who are doing it, but I am consistently talking about deprescribing.
People need the first person. That's why Neil Armstrong is more popular than the fourth guy on the moon. They know the first guy on the moon. You either have to be first or you have to be first in people's minds. And so you might not have been the first, but if you're the second and you grew fast so that all of a sudden you're the first in people's mind, then that's a great spot.
It's actually hilarious that you asked me that, because I literally searched within LinkedIn last night, deprescribe and deprescribing, just to see who else is talking about it. So I'm telling you, no one is posting like I am about deprescribing. There are a couple from my colleagues, but when I search deprescribe and deprescribing, it's all me. And then like later on, you may see like the Deprescribing Network of Canada or the US, but that's it.
And DeLon, you don't need me telling you this because you've already done it. So I'm just the one coming along and shining a light on you. But you got to take that word, which you've done, that deprescribing, just plow it through. And I think it's because of the alliteration where your first name starts with it. And it's not like your name starts with it just like if your name was Derek, like D-E-R-R. You know, it's D-E, and then Lon is like the capital. So it's like you're like the unlon. You know what I'm saying? It's perfect.
Yeah, I never saw it that way. It actually works. You're right.
You know, think of the companies that have owned words. You own the adjective. Just like Coke is the real thing, you own deprescribing. You own it now. And it goes with a DeLon. It's fascinating, DeLon. Way to go.
I'm cool with that. I'm going to get a trademark. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to do that next.
All right. So now that you've conquered the world with your deprescribing, speaking about the world, I saw on your website, I think, telehealth. Are you doing some of this through the internet? What's stopping you, or why don't you say that you're nationwide or something like that?
Technical, I am nationwide. I guess I haven't been really verbalizing that. But you know.
Because I saw on your website, it's kind of focused more on the Durham area, Raleigh, North Carolina area.
That is more for patients. When it comes to the deprescribing movement I'm leading, that's more of a national thing. And, you know, that's only because of licensure. I'm based in North Carolina. But when it comes to teaching deprescribing, that is a nationwide mission. And I will be known nationwide for that. So maybe I got some tweaking to do on the website. As
you keep growing nationally, that can be your kind of your landing page versus your services page or something like that.
And that's the thing. I made that website with no idea of deprescribing as a accelerator or as my coaching program in mind. It was simply what I do for patients one-on-one. So it was tailored more to local patients. But I've had that website for 2 years. And so I'm always re-editing it. But ultimately, yes, it will be a landing page for our deprescribing accelerator and getting more and more clinicians involved, nurses, pharmacists, providers, social workers in this movement. So
I think that's too small. Here's what I'm seeing. And again, you've already seen this. I'm just pointing out what you've already seen. There's a hole that's there still for a pharmacist to come in, be on every stinking TV show in the country and saying, I'm the pharmacist that deprescribes. And the whole audience, you know, is it pretend like they're in shock, you know, and then they clap for you and stuff like that. But I don't know of a pharmacist. You're like the pharmacist that's taking on the world, kind of like doing the opposite. Maybe there's a face out there for it. We talked about, is there a face on LinkedIn for it? Is there a national face that comes to mind? Is there a face that comes to your mind that says, I'm the Uncola pharmacist. I'm the pharmacist that does the opposite. Is there a face of that comes to your mind? That doesn't come to my mind.
Only my beautiful face comes to mind, honestly, Mike.
See, I told you.
Only mine. I mean, I've already have national reach. I mean, I've built an army of prescribers with our accelerator. I've got cohort members in South Dakota, Texas, and North Carolina who are all leading the charge and making their own prescribing conferences, their own prescribing summits. They're integrating prescribing as a value service. So even with that small N of 3, they're going to be touching hundreds of more lives down the road. So let's imagine how we can expound upon that. And yes, this could be translated into a national syndicated show, a podcast. That will be me. That's inevitable for me. I'm not worried about that. I'm more focused on getting this into people's communities now. The notoriety is great. I love it, but I need for our system to change sooner than later.
See, I'm always looking at the fame side, so...
Well, I need you on my PR team. I need you on my PR.
I ain't no good at it. I just think it's fascinating. All right, so let me back up a step then. So
sure.
We talked about the capital D, small e, matching up with the Deprescribing and all that.
Uh-huh.
That'd be a fun thing. And then are people paying you to learn to do what you're doing, or is that just a hope of yours?
Oh, yes, they are paying for that. Yes, so that's a part of our 3-month program. It's a coaching and training program where it'll actually be CE accredited pretty soon for pharmacists and nurses, etc.
Was it ever tempting for you to say, I'm DeLon, I've got 50 employees, let's say, one from each state, who's actually doing this work, and you're making a cutoff of that? Did you ever think about doing kind of a...
It sounds like you're referring to like a franchise kind of model.
Maybe not even a franchise. Maybe they're just your employees, that you've got 50 people on telemedicine and they're talking to doctors and you're paying the pharmacist to be there, but it's all, you're getting a cut of all this, not a franchise cut. Let's say they're your employees, or let's say a franchise kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that, which is a hell of a lot more work? What are your thoughts on that instead of just getting paid to teach people?
Funny enough, one of the benefits of joining the program is that you'll be a part of not only my network of prescribers, but I'm hoping to have that lead to potential job opportunities when I have other contracts in other states, and I want to be able to refer people who used my program to get work. So it's kind of a mix of a franchise model. So as I keep coaching and coaching and coaching, I'm expanding my reach. I'm going to be able to funnel work to people in my cohort and say, hey guys, we got prescribing opportunities here. Who wants to take this? That's going to be the future added benefit of being a part of our organization. Because, not every pharmacist is licensed everywhere. I sure don't. So I'm going to contract that out. And so, yes, that is the goal, is to build an army of prescribers. And so if they need me, I can do something there, or vice versa.
Can you talk to a doctor in a different state if you're not licensed in that state, as long as you're not dispensing? How does that work as far as having to be licensed if you're not actually dispensing anything? I mean, could you sit in your room now and serve 50 states?
License-wise, nobody has a clue. When it comes to telehealth, these border pharmacies err on the side of caution, meaning anything you do is probably a no-no if I were to consult outside of the state.
Because you're using your pharmacy services somehow outside of the state.
Right, because technically, you know how it is. It's outside the state, right? But again, it's not attached to a pharmacy. And as you know, pharmacy boards were made with pharmacies in mind, not telehealth as the advent of the future. And this is actually a pretty good question, because this happens a lot in pharmacogenomics, where you got patients across the state or other states, and you're like, can I do a consult? And you don't know if it falls technically under consulting as a pharmacist or just as a consultant and you're a pharmacist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
right.
So I say, I just ask for forgiveness. I just do it. At this point, the boards don't even know, pharmacists don't even know. And trust me, Mike, I tried doing it the right way. I've asked, I've reached out. No one has a clue. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. And then if I'm in trouble, you see me later. I got liability stuff for that too, if we got to, but I'm growing a business. Okay. So I tell people not to be afraid. I know we don't want to get ourselves in trouble. I'm not going to give you bad advice, but you got to take the leap. You got to find out, and you can't always get an answer. So I just do it until someone tells me no. So that's where I'm at. And I talk to doctors all the time in other states. I text them. We have conversations. We have Zoom meetings. They're not asking me about my licensure. In fact, there are some states that are more progressive, and they're used to pharmacists doing this. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, just do what you want. Just tell me what you do later. So I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, come on.
We had the state inspector come into our pharmacy a couple weeks ago, and some pharmacist turned me in because it had to do with the transfer and whether initials were needed on it and so on. And she came in and she's like, you did not include the right initials when you sent your prescription to this pharmacy through fax or something like that. And I'm like, well, it doesn't say I need to. It says I have to have the initials of the pharmacist it came from and to whom it's going. It didn't say the initials of the pharmacist. It just said to whom. And so she said, well, I've been a pharmacist a long time. It's just good practice. It just makes sense. I'm like, is this a lesson in etiquette or is this law? I really could not believe what I was hearing, that she said, like, it just makes sense to do it. I just couldn't believe it. Just get forgiveness later. You tried. Show where you researched it and just do it.
I tried, and I didn't know at first, but as I'm saying, why does it have to take all that nitpicking just for what, really? Like, what did she prove with that?
I'm not sure how I feel about this, and sometimes I go back and forth about, like in our pharmacy, do I ever want to mention the competition? There's debate going back and forth on that in political runoffs where bashing the competition, then bringing yourself up. It's just human nature, I guess. Do you have an enemy like the manufacturers who want over-prescribing, or, the insurers want over-prescribing because that's how they make money? Is there any enemy in this do you feel there's any enemy, and are you ever tempted, or would you ever use that as the Goliath of what you're up against kind of thing?
It's hard to put it all in one category, but there are enemies to this movement per se. I think number one is greed, and I'm not anti-capitalist. I believe it's important, it's necessary, but we have capitalized our healthcare system to the level to where it's sick care. Basically, the sicker you are, the more money they make. So we, again, need to address that at its core. But there are players involved, like the PBMs, and we can't blame it all on big pharma either, but they all have an intrinsic role to make more money. So it's hard for me to say it's all big pharma and PBM's fault when they're literally just doing what they're supposed to, because our country is founded on greed and money and capitalism. And so it's just, healthcare's a different model of making the same money. So who are the bad guys? To me, the bad guys are, blithely put, our healthcare system. It's the entire healthcare system. It's the lack of care that providers are feeling they can't even give because they're so strapped with PAs and documenting all these issues. It's the lack of reimbursement for pharmacists who are giving life-saving consultations, who can't even be seen as providers. That's a problem. Don't even have prescribing power. That's a problem. There's a game of ego. There's clinical inertia. There's, well, I did this 20 years ago, so I don't care what the new information says. There are people who are in their own silos. So I believe we can truly make this happen if we monetize and reimburse for deprescribing. And they do it in other countries. And another problem is we're one of the few countries that allows direct-to-consumer marketing of drugs, period. So now you get patients coming in with that new commercial on I want that one. It doesn't work that way. Healthcare doesn't work that way. It's the evidence that works that way. So yeah, it's a multi-layered issue.
There's a lot of people that on a big scale don't like this idea. I mean, you're taking money out of the system, and I suppose I'm trying to think who really benefits. Obviously the patient does, but outside of that, and I guess taxpayers, maybe if sick people are put onto the state's cost and things like that. But there's a lot of people that wouldn't like the thought of less medicine.
Business-wise, capitalistic-wise, sure, for sure. But to counter that, we waste $528 billion a year just on mismanaged medications that the taxpayers are paying.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. The taxpayers are paying that because why? Because taxes go up to pay for the sick?
Because there's cost spreading. And when it comes to these insurers, for some of those smaller plans who can't regulate costs for those who are uninsured coming into their system or using their networks, they spread the costs to those small business employers who are trying to pay for their people. So that's one way they can do that. And then some of these systems, some of these safety net systems, they get funding based on, certain metrics or things they keep. And so it affects that too. The truth is, it's a system-wide issue. And yes, there are going to be people, there'll be lobbyists, there'll be people who will never want this to ever change because their coffers are full of gold and diamonds. But at the end of the day, we are still losing money as a healthcare system. We are still ineffective. We're still lower ranked as a developed country in providing quality healthcare. We can't just keep doing the same thing, expecting things to change. In fact, it's only getting worse because we have an aging population, more meds, less providers. We have a shortage of doctors and nurses in COVID and senior care providers. I mean, we're just looking at less supply, more demand, and now we're going to tack on things to just, let's just put it on the meds. Let's hope the meds do the trick because I am not going to see you for 6 months. See you later. Good luck. But we can do things differently. And I mean, it may take a couple mil, get a small clinic, 30 patients, and just see what you do with a cash model. Just see what we do when we do things differently. And just see what happens if we volunteer, have some people. I'm not good at details, but I can talk big picture, right? And I just know that from the data I see, extrapolating from what I see that's already being done, it's doable. We just aren't putting the funds and time and importance there. And again, it's multifaceted. Patients, providers, pharmacists, everyone needs to be trained on this so there's some type of comfortability.
It's multifaceted. I think if you keep that daughter happy, and then on the other spectrum is talk about costs for people, about people saving money, it's saving taxes, it's saving a lot of stuff. And when you talk money, people's ears pop up.
This is why I'm so passionate, but also why it makes me so angry, is we literally have studies conducted where literally there's just simple, hey guys, in our nursing home, we want to reduce the number of opioids. That's it. All they did was train. They have one pharmacist, 2 or 3 technicians, and an MBA person. And all they did was just train the providers and the techs on how to look out for ways to avoid opioid use. So what did they do? They increased OTC use of Tylenol and naproxen, which is great, also cheaper. They reduced opioid use by 22%. They reduced opioid-related constipation. They reduced falls. So indirectly, that's thousands to millions saved just from stopping meds. You can monetize that. So why not fund all of that for our country and put this in all nursing homes so everyone's doing the same damn thing and not throwing it on a consultant pharmacist who's seeing 50 patients in a LTC and you're expecting her to catch everything in one chart review once a month. So it's so mind-bogglingly frustrating to see great evidence that says we can do it, yet our system sucks. So let's blame it on a patient or blame it on non-adherence or whatever boogeyman you want to put. So I'm just tired of that crap, Mike. And I'm just we can do this now. Let's do it. And I'm going to show you how.
Sometimes it's as simple as getting the word out. Here's an example. Who would ever think that I would not want someone to fill medicine at my pharmacy because I'm losing money on it because of, DIRs and so on? When I drive by a gas station, I don't know if the owner of that gas station wants me to buy their gas or not. I really don't know. I don't know if that hurts them or if it helps them because I know they make their money on the hot dogs and the Slurpees and all that stuff. I really don't know if it helps them or hurts them. And it really wouldn't kill any of them to say, we would like you to get your gas filled here. I don't know if they want me or not. So the point I'm making there is that as pharmacists, we can say as simple to doctors as, this isn't always good to do more medicine. We have a skill in us that can show you the benefits of not doing medicine, and we're the people that you should listen to about this.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree. 1,000%. And frankly, providers want to hear that. Providers want the same thing too. They want their patients on less meds too. They have no clinical training on how to do that. They have no inkling on what deprescribing is, unless they're like a geriatrician or someone in the ER and they're like, whoa, polypharmacy is killing this guy. Let's stop some stuff. Maybe that. But you're right. Again, this is ample opportunity for us. And I literally had a colleague who's a internist, a medical provider in Cali, text me yesterday how she helped to deprescribe like 8 medications because they had this patient who was a repeat offender in their ER. And unfortunately, it took 2 ER visits for someone to finally intervene. Mind you, that doctor had to argue with other doctors that this was the problem. So there's still a problem at its core in that we don't see that this is the issue, right? We don't see polypharmacy as the issue. But I ask you, Mike, how much were their ER visits? How much did that cost the healthcare system? This patient was uninsured, by the way. So how much did that cost? So that's like $50K, $100K. I don't know. And it was in Cali, so it's more. So again, had a pharmacist spent an hour or two, could we have saved all that? I don't know. But if you ask me, probably.
I think the thing is people don't like spending money to save money. They'd rather gamble. We're going to gamble that this person doesn't have a needless trip to the ER. And when they do, we'll pay it. But we all can do better by learning how to pay more to save more kind of thing.
We are forced to pay insurance, but we don't crash the car on purpose, right? We don't do it on purpose. We do it as a protection. So again, it's risk mitigation here and cost avoidance. And we have a system that, well, we want you sick. So trying to go against that is difficult, but is it doable? It damn sure is. And I'm going to keep preaching that till the cows come home.
Well, and DeLon, I'm going to keep listening with those snazzy pictures of you with all that good lighting. I might have to hire your person.
Yeah, I got you. For sure.
Hey, DeLon, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for all you're doing for the profession.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you.
Pleasure meeting you. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Take care.
You've been listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Please subscribe for all future episodes.